All right, I've got a minute after the hour, so let's go ahead and officially start. So again, I want to welcome everybody. This is now our 5th monthly webinar, and this is, as we promised, our first webinar where we're going to use this to preview some upcoming new products. So we're excited to have you on board to learn about those. Keep in mind, these products are not released yet. They're coming soon. So some of this may be subject to change, but by and large, we're far enough in the development that this should be very representative of the final products when they are released. We'll get more into that as we go through the presentation. Chad will introduce those elements. But I got to start with just a couple housekeeping items. One, we asked that we're not going to open mics during this. We just ask that you go ahead and use the chat feature. If there's any questions you have, punch them into the chat feature, and we'll either elect to catch them in real time, or we'll try to get through those at the end of the formal presentation. But if there's something that's relevant or tied to what Chad's covering at the moment, we may elect to just throw that question in, and Mary, who moderates this meeting for us, will bring that information in when needed. Let's see what else. During the webinar, we are gonna, as we have done on our previous ones, we're gonna insert a few poll questions. Just want to get some feedback from all of you on a couple of topics related to what we're talking about today, and also helps us make sure that you're engaged and paying attention. So look for those, and just be aware we are recording these sessions, and we'll post them on our website so that you can either review them later or forward a link to colleagues that may not have been able to be on the presentation, or if you just want to come back and review what you heard, we'll get those posted up onto our website as quickly as possible. So with that, let me advance the slide here. We'll make some introductions. So the talking head who's been talking at you thus far is me, Todd Alford, VP of Marketing here at Valcom. But our primary presenter today, familiar to probably most of you at this point, is Chad Burdette. He leads our sales engineering team, and he's been guiding the development of these projects through their inception to launch. So he is the right guy to cover this for us. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chad, and he can take you through today's agenda.
All right, thanks, Todd. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll be the one presenting this today, and like Todd said, if you guys have questions as we go through this, put them in the chat, and in the Q&A at the end of the presentation, we'll try to get to as many as we can. So, kind of the agenda for today, we'll start with the first product, which will be our LCD display speaker with flashers, and then we'll talk also about the new multicolor flasher that we have coming out.
All right.
So first, let's start with this is our new 22-inch LCD display speaker with flashers. We had developed this product from VOC that we had gathered in the field, and the need to do a larger display that you could get more information on. If you notice too, this screen is a 22-inch screen, and we'll talk about the different templates and things as we go through and what you can do with it. But one of the big asks that we had was to do something big enough that you could actually put like analog clock faces on, things like that. So this product was developed from some of the VOC that we have heard out in the field today from some of you guys, so thank you. And as we go through this particular product and future software releases of this product, we will be leaning on you guys as well as to continue the VOC for this product and where we want this product series to head.
Okay. So do we want to go ahead and dive into some of the functionality?
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's go ahead and get into it. So, some of the functionality of this unit is it does have dual speakers. So it is a dual speaker unit here. You can see it represented on the right-hand side of the screen. These will be used, of course, for paging intercom purposes. This will also be G722 codec capable. So that'll give you a higher quality audio for music, higher quality paging, and to be used with our other Gen 4 products that we have launching. On the visual aspect side, it does have a 22-inch LCD anti-glare screen. It is a 1080p resolution. We will talk about what you can use that screen for. As you'll see in this presentation, it's a lot of customization that you can do and display a lot of pertinent information with a screen size that large. And then this unit also has dual RGB flashers that you can actually use to pick the color and patterns of your choice, which we'll get into here shortly. But as you can see with the functionality of this unit, we followed along the lines of some of our other product lines where we wanted a multifunctional unit that will check a lot of boxes for your customers, not only for emergency alerting, but day-to-day communication and notification as well.
Chad, we didn't talk about this when we were kind of dry running the presentation, but did you want to say something about the decisions we made around the placement of where the flashers are on the unit relative to what we've seen from others out in the field?
Yeah, we decided to, with the flasher placement, and we represent that, or you'll see that in other slides, but the representation for this particular unit is the flashers will be this is a dual side unit. The flashers would be on the bottom. So you'll be able to see it bi-directional both ways. For the wall mounted unit, we elected to put them on the side of the unit so it doesn't interfere with the visibility of the actual display itself. That there again follows along the lines of some of our other products and the thinking there that while we want the flashers on there to draw attention and the flashers mean something, we want to be able for our audience to clearly and concisely see the messaging that we have on our screens.
Yeah, and I went ahead and advanced to the next slide to show the single-sided wall mount unit where you can see the side flashers. So
yep. So they're here, as you guys can see that what I was speaking to with the flashers on the side of the unit here. These units are, of course, individually addressable, unlimited grouping and zoning capabilities, 99 priority levels, follows along the same line, and the flexibility as the other Valcom products in our product offering. Connectivity to this particular unit it does have button input capability. That button input could be things from call buttons, emergency calls, playlist activation, but we give you an input to be able to run buttons directly to this unit. It will have a line level out. Somebody asked, are the flashers on both sides of the wall mount? That is correct. Dual flashers, one on each side. This unit will also have, when it ships, Bluetooth capability. That will be for future functionality. As we roll out new features and functions for this unit, that will include Bluetooth capability. This unit is SIP enabled, and it will be a PoE++ power unit. This is our first product that we're doing that requires plus capability, and we'll kind of talk and speak through that as we go through the presentation.
Yeah.
And here, as you see, he put another image up here. We'll get into the the different templates, things like that. But here's another kind of representation of what the screen can do versus the flashers. One thing I will mention too with the functionality, you can do audible to it, you can do text, you can do flashers, you can do any combination thereof. It doesn't always have to be everything or nothing. It can you can control each one independent, the audible, the text, and the flashers.
Good.
Hey, Chad, just I need a quick clarification. There's a question in the chat. Can the unit be mounted from the ceiling?
We're going to get into that, I think, in the next slide. But
Okay.
yes, we do have. So these are the other time of form factor options that you have. This unit is indoor only. The single-sided can be ceiling or wall mounted. If you notice or take notice to the images over on the right-hand side, the top one would be our single-sided wall mount unit. If you had a single-sided ceiling mount, it would look more along the form factor of the dual-side unit. It would be in that particular form factor with only one LCD screen, but we do offer that as a ceiling mount option as well. For the dual-sided, the dual-sided unit that you see in the bottom left image, that is wall mountable from the end of the unit, and then ceiling mountable from the ceiling mounted from the ceiling.
Yeah. And keep in mind, these are renderings. This is pretty close to what the final, product will look like, but you might see minor differences. Like, for instance, on the dual-sided, we're showing the flashers at the top of the unit. I think actually they'll be on the underside. Is that correct, Chad?
That is correct. That is correct. They'll be on the bottom of the unit. Yeah. And then as far as other options to go along with the LCDs is a surface mount back box for the single-sided unit. We have that over on the bottom right-hand corner. That can be used for surface mount applications where you need to run conduit, things like that, into the back of the unit. So it gives you a back box to be able to do those type of things. Both the single-sided and dual-sided will have the option to order a protective Lexan cover that goes over these. We elected to do Lexan, versus a wire cage just for aesthetic purposes and just being able to see the displays themselves. So we will offer those as well. And then we will also offer, since we're doing the PoE++ power, we will have a PoE++ power injector that we will offer as a separate part number, should you need us to supply you with the injector to power these units.
Good.
So, getting into the functionality of the unit itself, as far as the display goes, it is template-based programming for these units. As you see here, these are a couple different options that we've done with some of the templates that we've developed. These templates are totally customizable for your customer, to include images, background colors, text colors, things like that. Here's a couple of representations of what you could do possibly for day-to-day communication and with emergency lockdowns. Within these templates, you can also customize how the flashers react when you're displaying these template type messages. So that's all tied together, and we'll get into the software here in a little bit and how those are programmed. But a variety of different templates. This particular unit here comes with 15 different templates at launch. Some of them are kind of clock templates. Some of them are customizable templates. And then it also comes with 4 different flash patterns for the flashers. So you have a variety of different patterns, and you can also set brightness when you do those template events. As you see here, here's a couple other examples of some of the different templates. This is really showing like a 3-quad type template where you could choose to have a clock at the top, the image on the left side, and then custom text in the bottom right, where you can actually customize the color in the background, the color of the text, and of course the image as well. With these units out of the box for image purposes, it'll support JPEGs, SVGs, GIFs, and PNGs is what the unit will support out of the box. And there's a variety of different ways to get that content into these systems, which we'll talk about here shortly. A couple other, templates that we're showing here is like the center one at the bottom is where you can have the clock on the right, and then of course like customized text in the left, and an image in the bottom left. One thing to mention, we're talking about custom text and colors, is for like analog clock faces, things like that, you can actually have custom analog clock faces as well. So if your customer, if that's a big ask for them to have analog clocks, you can brand the clock however they would want to have it branded with their logo, their colors, etc. That is customizable as well.
So just to clarify, so you're saying like where it says Valcom on the clock face there, that's actually an image that was imported. Somebody could import a school logo or something and put that right where that Valcom logo is?
That is correct. They could actually define the actual logo in the center, the color of the face, and the numbers on the face as well. So yeah, cool. we actually render the hands, the second hands, and the hour and minute hands. So the clock face itself is totally customizable.
Very cool. Okay. So how do you make it happen?
That's right. So then how does this all work within our ecosystem? How do we program these things to make them work and do all this great functionality that they have? So you can interact with it several different ways. There's functionality that can be built into the 102B tool. As you guys know, our 102B tool does our basic programming of our units. There is some functionality in there, which we'll get into in a little bit, where you can do the standardized templates that can be pushed out from the 102B tool. They're typically revolves around, clock formats, things like that, very similar to our VL series. Then we'll get into what you can do with the site manager and the interactive console as well. But all three of these softwares, particularly, of course, the 102B tool, because that's how you set it up, but site manager and interactive console will be able to interact with the LCD display units.
Great.
So just, kind of looking at from the 102B tool standpoint, what you can do, like I mentioned in an earlier slide, you can pick from a variety of different clock formats, where you could have a clock face and a date. You could have a clock face where you have a digital clock on one side, analog clock on the other. We've had quite a few requests for that. You can have it where you brand the clock. If you notice on the right, we've spoke to that, where you can brand the analog clock face. You can also have templates where you actually do a branded logo across the top and then do the time and date. So it's a lot of flexibility and functionality when it comes to how you want to use this thing for clocks. The templates that you would import from the 102B tool, as I mentioned earlier, you can also do images, import images directly to 102B tool to be in the idle template, and also the colors of the background as well. So quite a bit of functionality right out of the box just to get these up and running in an everyday application that you can do. You can do a lot of customization right from the 102B tool.
Including flashers.
Yeah, so with the flashers too, the flashers on this unit, you can also define at a standard level or base level with the 102B tool as well. So what does that mean? You can take and define the flashers and how they react to intercom calls, how they react to just standard paging. You can do that. You can also, when I say, program those flashers, that's the color, that's the brightness, and the pattern as to how you want them to react. So, this goes above and beyond what a standard like strobe would do to notify of an incoming call or page, right? You can actually now specify calls or pages by colors, by patterns, and of course you can adjust the brightness according to the application or the area where these flashers are located. In addition to that, not only on a global scale, you can actually set flash patterns and colors by Valcom groups. So that gives you an enormous amount of flexibility when it comes to using the flashers on this unit, and we'll get into it when we get to the multicolor flasher as well, that you'll be able to define, for those on the call that are familiar with the 102B tool, with their unlimited grouping and zoning capabilities, you can create the groups that you want these LCDs to be in, and you can define how you want the flashers to react when they get group pages to those units. So that takes it from just being a global setting now that you can get down and get granular down to the actual Valcom group. And you define all of that in the 102B tool as well.
And I know, a year and a half ago, we released our 7-color versions of our 520. Now we've got the 550 in 7 colors, but the RGBs on here, like it's showing, you can set any RGB value you want.
That is correct. And for this unit here, each side is a single Cree LED cluster consisting of 4 LEDs per side in that cluster. So yeah, you can set whatever color you want them to be. You can define that here with the, like what you see on the screen here with the color wheel, or if you have the actual hex color, you can define it there as well.
Very cool. Okay.
All right. So now getting into the site manager. From the site manager, you'll have event types. So you have LCD event types. So you'll actually be able to do template type events where you'll have an actual preview of what that event will look like. This is a representation of an emergency event where, like a lockdown, where you would have like a static message at the top, the image that you would want it to render on the bottom left, and then the text that you would want on the bottom right. For text, you can do static or scrolling, right? So in this instance, even though it's showing a static preview, lockdown would be solid. Locks, lights, out of sights would be what's scrolling either horizontally or vertical with this application. I will say too that when your customers have a mixture of the VL series signs and the LCD application, when you guys are building your normal text events to be single or dual line, the LCDs will follow that protocol as well. So if you're doing just single and dual line type applications and you add the LCD, it'll fit right into that solution and respond with the same characteristics as what the VL series signs would be receiving as well. So no additional work there would be needed. These particular events are to do the customizable templates, things like that, directly to these LCD units. As you see here, you can also include flashers as part of these events. So you have a little radio button at the top left in the site manager that you would check that and be able to go in and define how you want your flashers to react. Remember, you get to pick color, you get to pick pattern, and you get to pick brightness of those particular flashers. You'll be able to do that as part of that particular LCD event as well.
And that's what you're showing here, correct?
Yep, that's what we're showing here, kind of where you pick your color. Something that we're doing out of the gate is you can do a primary color and a secondary color, so you can actually have it alternate between colors. So that's an enhanced feature over above and beyond just doing the single RGB flasher color and a pattern. You can actually rotate colors from a primary color to a secondary color as well. Here's one just talking about maybe looking at an example of a day-to-day type template you would build where you want to set an actual idle with custom messaging as part of the clock templates. You can do that here as well. So you could push out information where you could have a clock template that goes to if it's K-12, you could have, pertinent information on the clock for, elementary school kids, middle school kids, high school kids. You can break it up that way, do these event types to where you can do a lot of customization to just day-to-day content and, communication out to the audience, right? And this application applies to other things, and we'll speak to the different applications as we get to the markets. But outside of K-12, we see a huge use case for things like this in healthcare and commercial industrial as well. And as you see over here on the left, it's kind of the same format. This is just a different template style. The screen will change according to the template you're using, and then it'll actually preview what it'll look like on the right-hand side. So you'll know how the LCD will react. And if you notice too, even on like the clock templates, you can control or use flashers with those as well. There's a couple different examples over here on the right that we've put in here. One that seems to be particularly popular in who we've showed this to so far is this center template, where you could keep the clock on the right-hand side. You could put like an emergency if you go into an emergency on the left-hand side. I know a lot of times when you are using this system for emergency protocols and procedures, the initial message goes out, the initial visual messaging goes out, and then you kind of go into a holding pattern for waiting for future instructions. This particular unit here is something like for a shelter. If you had a shelter in place for weather, initially you want to get people out of harm's way, but as they're held up in their areas, you could display this type of template to let them know that that you're still in a shelter holding pattern, but you can also keep the clock up, things like that, instead of it just being the whole screen being an emergency. So that's been kind of a popular one. And by all means, these are not just the only 3 you can do. Like I said, there's 15 different templates on initial launch of this product that you can control from the Site Manager platform.
All right, and then
the
thing we haven't shown them yet is this.
Yep, and with the LCD display, it will also have a slideshow mode that you'll be able to build a slideshow. This is a carousel type feature where you'll be able to load images that will run in succession, one right after the other, with the slide duration at the top. We did one here. Of course, we're scrolling through this fairly fast here, but these are just images that we loaded that we can do as a slideshow type event. So your customers can go in and build these, build this information and run it in a slideshow, similar to you see on other carousel type systems as well. And as you see with the programming over here on the left, you can just continue to do one image right after the other. You give the slides the duration. There is a priority associated with this. So if you're running a slideshow basically as an idle message or a low priority, of course, any other messaging that you would send the LCD, the slideshow would stop. It would play the pertinent emergency information or other information that you would be sending it, and then it would go back to playing the slideshow. So this there again gives them a lot of functionality to put a lot of different content on the screen and scroll it throughout the day. You can use flashers with the slideshow as well, should you want to do that. If it's something that you need to draw attention to, we give you the flexibility to use the flashers with the slideshows as well.
Very nice.
As far as the consoles, the interactive consoles, the bill and communication panel, there will be events in here as well that you can build to do the template-based alerting to the LCDs as well, and it'll follow basically the same cadence as the Site Manager would, where you could actually push a templated message out to the LCDs. Also audio out to the LCDs as well. You just don't get the the flexibility of doing the playlist, change events, and other things parallel like you do in the site manager. But the consoles do have the ability to be able to communicate directly with the LCDs through events as well. And this is just an example of what it would look like here. Currently, you do not get a preview of that event like you do in Site Manager, but a lot of the same functionality is there that's in the Site Manager as well, like picking flasher color, flasher pattern, customizable text, inputting images. You can do those type of things through the interactive console and the communication panels user interface as well.
All right, thanks.
That's
Let's take a break here and get some input from our audience. So we're queuing up our first poll question. And there we go. Yeah, this, as it says here, this is the first product that we've released that requires PoE++, and I think you can probably understand why. To drive one or two of these screens is fairly power hungry. We just want to understand, are you as installers, integrators, professionals in this field, are you seeing PoE Plus and Plus Plus becoming, is it becoming more common? Is it really accepted? Do you see any chance that, that's going to be a roadblock to success of products like this? So you can select multiple things on the screen. I think it actually, it scrolls down here. So select, kind of all that apply, please.
Chad, while we have a minute, while our attendees are taking the poll, just a quick question about the dual side LCD display. The dual side will be a separate part number with the displays on both sides, correct?
Yeah, it is. I was just reading down through the comments just to see what I can answer. And yeah, okay. The dual side is a separate part number, but it's dual LCD displays, and it still only requires one port. Right, we don't need a separate port for that particular unit. It'll still run off a single port.
Okay.
Do you have a protective layer over the LCD? That's the Lexan cover. We may have a filter that goes over the LCD, but I don't know that that's more of a protective layer for the person that asked that. I covered what it'll support out of the box as far as image sizes. I think that's pretty much it. What's been asked so far.
Okay, and just taking a look at kind of the results that have come in. It's good to see some PoE Plus and Plus Plus. They are becoming more expected. The majority of the audience, said that, and also that most are saying don't really see this as a huge inhibitor to bringing products like this to market, so that's good. Just some indication that maybe in some applications it could be a problem. So that's great. This feedback helps us with future development and products like this. So thanks very much. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll, and we'll go back to the slideshow, which takes us into, just a discussion on some of the applications, which, Chad, you've already alluded to.
Yeah, so, looking at the different applications, of how it may be used, like for lockdowns, if you guys support the K-12 market, they do a lot of protocols and procedures via colors. So, for instance, like lockdown, that could be one of the screens you're talking about there.
Sorry, there we go.
There it is. Yep. With the actual flashers flashing the same color as the unit. One thing I will note about the flashers, we talk about the different patterns that we can have. One of those patterns is solid. So you can just cut the color on if you want. So we have that as well. We show it flashing. We'll show it flashing here as well. And then, of course, like daily notification, being able to put pertinent information besides text across the screen about things that are going on within a school on the screen is going to be huge. I think that'll be done, or we think that's going to be done a lot through the templates, and then also through the slideshow capability of the unit as well. Other vertical markets, healthcare. We've talked to a lot of different healthcare facilities. They do things by colors. This will help them as far as emergencies go. to be able to do things and identify things by not only text but the color of that text. You know, a lot of healthcare are going to plain language text, but will still follow colors as well. So this gives them the flexibility to do it as a code call and then give pertinent information as well across the screen. And then also the carousel type things with, you know, all the different aspects of a healthcare, especially a hospital, from, you know, cafeterias, visiting hours, you know, different areas of the hospital with restrictions. The carousel type system should be a huge plus for them as well as just the day-to-day templates. Healthcare is one of the biggest markets outside of K-12 that use clocks, you know, that need clocks around to tell time and keep people on schedule as well. So this will be a great benefit to them as well, to be able to do those various different clock formats in a healthcare facility as well. And then for the commercial industrial side, right, we've been asked and we've engaged these folks. They do a lot of things by colors and visual because of the high noise environment. So this unit here allows them to do those same things, right? To get that information out of, you know, impending emergency notifications, whether that's weather or something happening within the plant, while also supplying daily information about what needs to be done or what needs to go on in these commercial industrial facilities. So see a big use case here as well with these units to be able to inform the staff and personnel at these commercial industrial locations. So now let's since we've talked about the LCD, let's talk about the other new product that we have coming. This is our new multicolor flasher. We've had requests, like I said before, for the LCD. You know, a lot of times people want to do things just by colors, or, you know, they're trained, their protocols and procedures are based on colors only. So we have developed a multicolor flasher to be able to do just that. So let's kind of get into what the functionality and the features are of this unit. This unit will be indoor and outdoor for indoor and outdoor applications. It will be, we're going to get an IP rating and an IK rating for Vandal on this unit. So you'll be able to use this indoors, outdoors, and also in areas where could be it'll have a Vandal rating or a protection rating from physical blunt trauma. So we'll have a rating on that. This one uses the Cree LEDs as well. This particular unit here has 16 Cree LED modules, consisting of 4 LEDs per module, giving it 64 total Cree LEDs. This thing's bright. It's extremely bright if you turn it up. And that field of view is from the front of the unit as well as the sides of the unit. As you can see, it's the way the lens is designed. The Cree LEDs are around in a circle patterning, as also front facing as well. This particular unit will be a PoE plus device. So it will require PoE plus power, and you'll be able to surface mount it to the wall or a variety of different junction boxes as well. As I mentioned on the other screen, multiple colors, right? You'll define the colors, and we'll kind of walk through that a little bit too in the software. But you'll define the color that you want, multiple flash patterns. This particular unit will release with 7 different patterns that you can do. And with it being a Valcom product, it'll also follow the same unlimited grouping and zoning and priorities that other Valcom products have. This will be a SIP-enabled device as well. So you can activate the flasher via SIP, but a lot of flexibility with this particular product for visual alerting. There again, getting into the programming itself, we'll walk through the 102B tool, just kind of to reiterate, how you would program with 102B tool, how it react with Site Manager and interactive consoles as well. So from 102B, just kind of as a refresher, it'll operate the same way as the flashers will on the LCD display, where you can set global settings for intercom calls. You can flash on audio pages according to the priority level, where you can set brightness and color, as well as patterns. You will also be able to define these, and it will recognize what colors, what patterns, and what brightness it needs to be according to the group itself as well. So that gives this a lot of power out of the box to be a visual alerter for your customers. You can tie that to those individual groups. That makes it highly flexible to pretty much do whatever your customer would want to do visibly to alert of an incoming call. It can do it. And you do most of that program right in the 102B tool itself.
And that grouping capability you're talking about, this is how you define that,
yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, this is just a representation, and these screens are still being worked on here, but yeah, you'll be able to define, for the people that's familiar with 102B tool, you'll be able to of course, group associate it to those groups, and within those groups, you will have defined how you want the flasher to react. So as a baseline programming, the flasher will react to those pages that way. So for instance, page goes off in a warehouse to an all-call page group. Part of that all-call page group, you say, hey, I want a 2-second flash of purple, purple 2-second flash. Then when somebody calls that all-call page group, that flasher will start flashing purple every 2 seconds.
Cool.
For Site Manager and the consoles, there will be events that are just for the flashers themselves. So there again, if you do not have LCDs, you'll still be able to control these flashers and use the same functionality. As part of your workflow and your events, you'll be able to go in and build those events for the multicolor flasher to react. If you look here, same thing. You'll be able to do it by color. You'll be able to do it by primary, secondary. You'll be able to pick the flash patterns. And remember, you can also, as part of the event, set priorities for these events as well. So there again, you can have them flash on certain priorities you don't. So you'll have that flexibility as well. But the Site Manager and the consoles both will have a separate event for a multicolor flasher as well. So you'll have a lot of flexibility there to be able to do that, along with other things you're doing in that as part of your workflows.
Perfect.
And this is just kind of, representation of, like in a K-12 market, we use the visual displays to give actual text. This is where you can actually use the multicolor flasher to represent those same applications. So like in shop classes, vocational areas, high noise areas, you can use the flashers to represent these things. Pretty much, anything that they do in a K-12 market via color. As we all know, like the I Love You Guys Foundation, lockdowns are red, all clears, secures are blue, holds are purple, things like that. So you can make these react to those same type color protocols and help you get a standardization, not only just in your audible alerting, but even in your visual, down to just being the color, not the text. And then in the other markets, healthcare, same thing. This is big with doing different types of code calling and doing things by colors, like code blues, code pinks, things like that. You can have these react as well and be part of those events or workflows as well, to be able to represent what state a particular facility may be in, or what emergency's going on, or what's needed. These are just a couple of representations of that in the healthcare facility. And then commercial industrial, in talking to commercial industrial, they do a lot of things, like I mentioned before, by colors. So, all their emergency alerting, things like that, you can do the same type cadence with the flash patterns, the colors, the brightnesses, in those. And then for them too, they do a lot of things with integrating with machines, manufacturing processes, excuse me, things of that nature. So you can use these as an extension of those systems to be able to alert on any of those type failures or statuses on those machines as well. This is a big thing in the commercial industrial space that we've noticed is leveraging the Valcom system to be able to integrate to these PLC processes and take what those systems do, take it outside of those systems, get it into our system, and then we can audibly or visibly alert off of those type faults or failures from those systems. And this is just another extension of how we can do that with colors with these units as well.
All right. Well, let's give you another little break here, Chad, and we'll queue up our next poll question. And in this case, we'd like to understand from your perspective as, again, configurers, installers of these systems. This is another select all that apply. Where do you see applications where having the ability from a single device to, depict a pattern, a color on demand, and being able to show different colors rather than just a single like blue strobe or blue LED? Whether it's K through 12, healthcare, maybe it's multiple. We certainly, as you just saw, we think there's applications in multiple markets, but we'd like to hear your perspectives on that as well. Maybe there's some vertical markets that we hadn't even thought of, but yeah, this is you can scroll down on the list. It's we've got about 8 categories here, so we even put an option for other at the bottom. Maybe at some point we'll have to figure out, maybe we can make a free form where you can type in an answer as well, but for now looks like pretty evenly across the board, good distribution across K through 12, higher ed, commercial, healthcare, maybe a little less government and military and retail, but that's good. That kind of reinforces kind of our thinking as well. Very much appreciated. We can go ahead and close down the poll, and we'll come back to the PowerPoint. Let me see if I can do that without
that's
messing up the screen here.
That's 3. Seeing that poll, that's great. Seeing K-12 commercial industrial healthcare. I mean, that's the 3 that we think will get the biggest impact. So seeing that the audience kind of aligns with that is reassuring. And something I want to mention here too, we talk about VOC, things like that. This is what's coming with the release of these products. As you guys are introducing these to the market, please work with your RSMs to get VOC back into us for future releases, future feature sets in these products. That's the people that's familiar with Valcom, that drives what we do. So, I want to make sure we mention that at some point in here is we love to hear from you guys and VOC from the field and what you're experiencing. So we can, the next releases, we can just enhance and keep enhancing these products and giving you guys what you need to be successful in the markets.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. I mean, so much of what we're sharing today, you can see it's very software driven, which gives us a lot of flexibility. We have an unbelievable engineering team here. If you were to come back and tell us, hey, those 15 templates on the LCD are great, but could you create a template, and if we get feedback that a template with this kind of a form factor or layout or breakup of the screen with the flexibility to do X, Y, or Z, get that to us. We'll take a look at it, and if we can do it, we can do that, push that out through a software update. Same thing on the RGB flasher. If there's some kind of a unique pattern, I don't know, like an SOS pattern or something like that you find application for, get it to us. And again, same thing, it's software. So we can push that out in terms of an update or by way of an update. So yeah, get that feedback to us. We've done our best to try to capture what we think the bulk of the market has asked for, but there's no way we've captured every possibility. So probably here's a good point. Some of you, I'm sure, are wondering when, how, where do I get this? So we'll take you through that in as much detail as we can provide at this time. Oh, Chad, you can start, and then I'll pick up.
Yeah. So these are scheduled to release first week in August, and Todd will kind of talk about what's going to lead up to that. As far as these things being released into the wild, he'll talk about the marketing efforts that we're doing and kind of the timeline of all the information you guys need to get out and go promote these products. But yeah, the goal is to have it released first full week in August, which I think is August 4th.
Yeah, and along those lines, in terms of supporting materials, we're already working on, and we've got some drafts that we've got to finalize in terms of just kind of marketing one-pagers for these with high level features and imagery and so forth, that we should be able to have out here in the first couple of weeks of July. We will shoot some more detailed videos on these, kind of like if you kind of paid attention to the Easy IP launch. We'll almost certainly do something similar for these products and get that information published out there. And then in terms of promotion, we've got some key trade shows. We'll be at Campus Safety Conference. There is the Bixie Show. Raptor has a conference that we'll be participating in. There's also the site event, and then GSX in terms of a big show. We'll have these products functional and on display at those events. And then other promotion, with our distributor partners, we have print and digital commitments with them that we'll be using to promote these products, as well as our industry associations like NCSA. We have some advertising, digital media that we can do with them that certainly will feature these products in. So, and what we'll do, and for those of you who are on this webinar, one of the, I guess, side benefits of participating in these webinars is, we know who's registered to this webinar, and for this audience, we'll make sure that you get first crack at any of the support materials that we develop for this. We can set you up into a campaign to where, you'll get them in our general communications, but we can put you all into a separate campaign where you get first view of this stuff. So we'll get to work on that as those materials start to become available. Okay. And you've probably all seen this before. Yeah, Chad, I don't know if you wanted to talk through this at all.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you've certainly seen this before. This is the breakout of our territories and the individual regional sales managers and sales engineers and customer support folks that are supporting you every day on this. So if you want more detail, or you have, projects and applications where you think these products are already a need and a fit, reach out to your RSMs, and they'll certainly come back into us for quoting and so forth. As we haven't mentioned price yet. We're still finalizing pricing on these units, but if you've got something hot, get it to us, and we'll figure out how to get you the information you need to go after any of those opportunities or projects that are being bid and planned now for the time after these products are in the market and launched. So
yeah, and we're looking like just a couple weeks away to be able to quote. So yeah, we're extremely close. As Todd said, we're just finalizing a couple things as we're building these units before we finalize.
Yeah, right, and then I don't know if yeah, I didn't know if there were any questions we hadn't gotten to. In the format I'm at, I can't see the Teams chat window.
There are a couple questions. I think Brian Bortz, your question may have already been answered by Todd, but reach out to Dan Burton for more information on that. Paul Burton has a couple of questions. How easy is it to swap out a damaged LCD? Is it as simple as unscrewing it and plugging in a new panel? And then the life expectancy of LCD panels, have they been third-party tested and put through a longevity test?
So they've been tested, right? As far as like the outside testing, the ones we standardize on. We'll do testing here as well, right? With the test department, they'll have testing on that. We'll have more of that as we're going through first articles, things like that. And then as far as replacing those, mechanical, I'll meet with mechanical as we're going through first article and see how easy that would be in the field. But my instinct is I don't think it's definitely not just going to be unscrewing an LCD and screwing an LCD in, right? Those type screens are not designed to be able to do those type things. It's not like LED panels where you can pop a new panel in.
Yeah,
And
Okay,
as we
and-
get closer to one thing I want to say too is, as we get closer to the launch, right? As far as just like the support side of things with install manuals, things like that, there'll be some, tidbits of information on some of the things you're asking now. We'll include like resolution sizes for images, things like that, as far as like when we talk about the templates. So you'll get a lot of that detail as we go through the coming weeks up to launch.
And one additional question, do you have dimensions and weights yet for the LCD? I'm assuming
I
it's the
do.
LCD. Okay.
I do. Weight is 11 pounds. Height is 12 and a half. Width is 24, a little over 24.3. And the depth is 2.25. And we'll get that, like I said, kind of back to my original comment. Tech spec will be out in the coming weeks that'll have all that pertinent information on it as well.
Okay.
All right. Well, in the remaining couple minutes we have left, let's just give you the audience a preview of what's coming up. So in July, our next webinar, we're going to do a bit of a deep dive on the healthcare market and applications for paging, intercom, mass notification, emergency communications as it applies to the healthcare market. Then in August, we're going to have a special guest presenter. We're going to talk about the Valcom Views solution, which is something we've done in partnership with USGS and their Shake Alert system. So we will have a special guest, Dr. Robert DeGroot from the USGS, who's kind of the tip of the spear or the head of that Shake Alert system, and he's going to describe kind of what that's all about, how that works. Keep in mind, right now that serves the states of Washington, Oregon, and California, but that doesn't mean it wouldn't be of interest to others, across the country who may have clients with facilities in those locations. But Dr. DeGroot will kick it off, talk all about Shake Alert and what USGS does. And then Dan Dalton from our team, one of our sales engineers on Chad's team, will take you through how Views partners with USGS to deliver those emergency messages. And we've had some really important or really critical recent events in California where Views really proved itself. So we'll take you through that. Then in September, we're again going to have a guest with us, representatives from OmniAlert, who do the weapon or gun detection through camera-based AI, and how we can integrate that and tie that communication of those events into Valcom systems. And then we may talk a little bit about other integrations as well. In October, as part of our partnership, we're a mission partner with the I Love You Guys Foundation. We'll do a joint webinar with them, just explaining what I Love You Guys is all about and how, again, as a mission partner, Valcom has supported that effort, and how that fits into, you saw a lot of it today on those LCD screen examples, how we automate a lot of what I Love You Guys is trying to standardize across, and it's mostly schools now, but really it can apply to other verticals as well. So we'll cover that. And then finally, the next one we've got at least queued up is in November. We want to take you through just an overview of the different training modules and how to get training from Valcom. We have videos, we have LMS system now, as well as what's probably more familiar to most of you, kind of the in-person training, but it's broader than that. And so Bruce Gabrielson, who leads that for Valcom, will take you through that. And then we'd also like to cover some of the top questions that come into our tech support line that have pretty ready answers, but maybe people just aren't finding them or kind of missing the mark, or we've done not a great job of communicating how you do these certain things. So Dave Ellison, who leads our tech support team, we'll cover some of that as well. So that's our November webinar, and we've got an idea for December, but we just aren't ready to talk about it yet. So that gives you a preview of what's coming up. And with that, we're, I think, just a little bit over the hour. So again, thank you very much for attending these. We'll get this recording cleaned up and published as quickly as possible on the Valcom site under the who we are. There's a section for our webinars, and you can find all the past webinars on there in addition to this one once we get it published.